Of course, we'll keep coming back to our technical experts, but time to welcome our market master this morning. Gautam Trivedi, MD and CEO of Religare Capital Markets, now joins us. Gautam, good morning. Good day to have you. You've done a lot of research on what's happening in UP.
Good morning.
You know, what is the market is telling us that it's now beginning to bet on a BJP win in UP. Is that the sense you also get from the feedback that you've received?
You know, not yet actually. There, I think, it's still not very clear who is a likely winner here. And I think the market may initially react negatively for maybe a day or two, if at all, if they win, if they lose. And again, the quantum of the loss also is important. But the fact is, you know, BJP not making it into UP will not really have that big an impact as much as what a lot of people believe in the market. I think that's something which could be limited.
Okay. Morning, Gautam. But what were the signals you picked up in UP first?
Morning. You know, I don't want to get into that. I mean, the fact is, the political commentary that we're getting back is really neck to neck between the SP and the BJP. And the fact is that Congress, having teamed up with the SP, has actually been a huge positive. So that's the way it's being perceived right now. But again, you know, we'll never know until the election date.
Okay. But why would you say that that will not be perceived as a material event at all? You think at the most, if it was an adverse verdict, the markets will perhaps dip or not dip at all and just move on?
No, I think the markets will definitely correct depending on the quantum of a loss if the BJP were to lose. I'm not necessarily saying it's not a big event, but the fact is, I think it'll be temporary because there's so much money coming into the market. If you look at the domestic mutual fund industry itself, in the last 6 months, it's taken on an average of about 7,500 to 8,000 crores a month of net inflows into equity funds. So I think, you know, if that were to happen and if the BJP were to lose, and I hope they don't, but if that does happen, and depending on the quantum of the loss, I think, you know, it'll be a time to buy. So I would not really worry that much about the market having a major correction as a result.
Okay. Gautam, the talking point of last 3 or 4 days has been the huge move in Reliance. What have you made of that? What changed all of a sudden? The fact that they are making, of course, Jio paid now. Do you think that deserves this kind of re-rating? And what's the call here?
You know, the stock has been a huge underperformer. We've seen it for the last probably about 6 to 7 years. And I think because the company has been largely in a capex mode, so, you know, the earnings, you know, and a lot of these capex and projects are very long-ended. So finally, we're seeing the fruits of that. As far as telecom was concerned, I think that really was the big joker in the pack, and how would Reliance be able to pull it off? What would be their pricing? What would be their strategy, and so forth? Finally, I think when Mr. Mukesh Ambani announced the new plan, the 303 plan, which I think is a phenomenal and a brilliant plan, you know, it completely resets the pricing model in the telecom industry, and hence you've seen a flurry of M&A activity since. I mean, look at my personal case. I have an ARPU of about 7,000 to 7,500 rupees a month. I mean, I will go for the 303 plan. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And it's massive cost savings for my company, and it's a massive cost savings for corporates across the country. Now, whether the incumbents will come and match it or not, we don't know. But the fact is, Reliance has basically once again demonstrated its ability to come and reset pricing in a specific industry. They've done it before in polyester. And, you know, this is a great win-win for consumers. So I think the economics of this industry have dramatically changed. The fact is that they've now finally gone into paid. And, you know, this is really the trigger the market was looking for.
Yeah, but year to date, it is Idea that has moved a lot more. What would you do with that stock?
No, but don't forget, Idea has only moved in the last 6 weeks on the merger news. Otherwise, the stock had completely collapsed. I mean, let's not forget that. So I think that's, you know, the fact is, whether it's Vodafone and Idea merge together or remain standalone, the question is, can they match Reliance's rates? And if they can't match the rates, then we've got a problem.
Okay.
That point is taken. Well, the other space which is quite active right now is even the ADAG space. So Reliance Infra, Reliance Capital are the other stocks which have looked up. But Gautam, one more space where we have seen some rally of late is pharma. Do you get a sense that the risk reward is favorable here now after the kind of correction that we have seen? Of course, it's stock specific.
I think you're right, Anuj. It's very, very stock specific. Our top picks are Cadila, Orbindo, and Sun Pharma in that order. But the fact is, the space in general, we have pretty much a neutral view on the pharma space. I think don't forget what's happened in the US. The number of distributors in the US, they've consolidated down from 6 to 4. Now, these 4 account for 85% of the US generics market. So they have huge pricing power and control over pricing, should I say. And that's not necessarily good news for a lot of the companies that are, in the outsourcing game, especially the Indian companies. So I think you've got to be careful about what that means. And I think a lot of people are still awaiting to see what may unfold from the Trump camp in terms of additional measures to limit imports. So again, I think there are a lot of moving parts. Again, the same thing also applies to Indian IT. So as a result, I believe that, we believe, should I say, that it's very stock specific. And like I said, the 3 stocks, Cadila, Orbindo, and Sun Pharma remain our top picks.
Okay. Well, the stock actually that has moved quietly and was not in the news in the past couple of weeks has been Yes Bank. We have spoken a great deal about other private banks, but actually year to date, one of the biggest gainers has been Yes Bank.
Yeah.
Your private sector bank space opinion in general and Yes Bank in specific.
Yeah. It's like this. The overall banking industry has seen, currently we're seeing about a 5% credit growth and a 15% deposit growth. Now that 5% credit growth may actually improve slightly, maybe in the next, couple of quarters to maybe 8%. But the reality is we're not really seeing the credit growth that, the country really needs at this point because of limited private capex, limited capex in general. Now, in spite of that, you've got a couple of banks out there that are bucking the trend. IndusInd, Yes Bank, being the 2 case in point. We've had a buy on Yes Bank for the longest time. My analyst Parag Jariwala loves the stock and has the highest target price on the street of 2,000 rupees. I think that's a stock we will continue to back. And then I think Rana Kapoor's done a phenomenal job of taking the stock to the next level.
Okay. What about NBFCs? Gautam, is there anything that you like in this space?
We still like Chola. We have a buy. That's the lone buy we have in the space right now. But the fact is, the NBFC space, I think even investors are taking a bit of a sort of breather here and, reevaluating whether at these valuations anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 times, and some are even more expensive, if this is really a time to add more or should they wait for a correction. I I don't think there's going to be a major correction, but at least for prices to come off a bit. So this was a sector which over the past about 18 months saw a massive rally, and now I think people are really wondering if this is time to add any more.
But what about housing finance? Would you club it